All right, let's talk about these two murders. These are crazy. There was the one in Denton County where a grandson stabbed both of his grandparents, ended up killing his grandfather. The grandmother is the one that's like a county commissioner. She was the first, I think, black female mayor of Louisville. She's got a great career. She's been around the news for a long time. But this other one is nothing but disturbing. This other one in Fort Worth, there's a group of friends that got a group text and a Snapchat from this guy, and it looked like his mom and dog covered in blood. What's going on there? So they call the cops. They give them the address. The cops show up at 1:30 in the morning, and this guy, this 23-year-old Fort Worth man, answers the door almost covered in blood. There's blood on his face. There's blood on his neck. There's blood on his chest. There's blood running down his torso. There's blood on his hands. There's blood on his feet. And on top of that, he's holding a Bible. Oh, my goodness. So what are we dealing with here? Are we dealing with Damien from Omen? Is this Omen Part 4? Cops are like, what's going on? He's like, I was just having an exorcism. Anything we need to know about what's in the house? He's like, yeah, there's a dead body in there. Dead dog, too. What's going on? The quote that he told the officers in the arrest affidavit, he says, I was doing witchcraft to kill my mom. Cops go in, they find the guy's mom, a 58-year-old lady who had been bludgeoned to death, blunt force injuries to the head. She was pronounced dead at the scene. He's been taken in, $750,000 bond. He's facing a single charge of murder. He hasn't said anything else to the cops other than that initial report from the cops when they got to the scene. So we don't really have a motive for the killing, but I think I know what the motive is. It's Satan. Jesus, this guy's a crazy person. And I'm not saying like he was driven to do this because the media riled him up. No. Some people are just born with missing a screw. Some people are just factory seconds. And the numbers on that, I mean, they sound kind of low. Like 2% of people they think are capable of doing this, capable of not having that human connection and just getting a little stabby or killing your own mom without any real provocation, just because you're a crazy 2%. So in a nation of 300 and something million people, what are we talking about here? There's over 6 million of these crazy people that we're sharing the country with right now. Yeah, newsflash. There are some crazy people out there who are just barely holding on to reality, who are capable of just grabbing a knife and stabbing grandma or grabbing they think it might have been this jewelry box and smashing mom in the head with it. And I don't know how he killed the dog, but what the heck is going on? You know, that's like a level of just, you can't explain it. There's no logic. Like even like with the Wilmer Hutchins kid, he's like, well, these guys were threatening my life, so I just shot them first. Or even though the Frisco track meet stabbing, bit of an overreaction, but there was some provocation. I don't think this guy was doing an exorcism. He just felt disrespected, and I don't know, man. That's just a level of crazy that I can't deal with because the only explanation is just demons. Like, what the heck is this? And we had 2 of them in the same week. I know we're in a metropolitan area of 8 million people, but stuff like that just bothers me. I cannot digest that fully. If you have any theories, 800-288-9227. Because here's the one theory that I'm kind of clinging on that brings us back to earth and has some sort of explanation, some sort of not closure, but just at least a path to go down. Antidepressants. Dr. Brian Ardis, who's been on the show many times, has pointed out of the 52 school shooters, and random school shooters, not like the Wilmer Hutchins one, but where the people just go in spraying bullets, not aiming for anyone in particular. He says that all 52 of them had been on either antidepressants or benzos at some point. Are we making crazy people crazier? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm not sure if we're making these people crazy with crazy pills or making them crazier with crazy pills, or if they would have done it without the crazy pills. But 52, that's a lot. That's more than a coincidence. Adam in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. You got any theories on this?
Yeah, I do have a theory, actually. I think the pendulum has swung so far to the right in terms of over-medicating children, and it could be a possibility because you have to think when you have teenagers that are already growing up in adolescence and they're going through a lot of crazy stuff in their heads, any kind of chemical interference, while beneficial to some and definitely helpful to some, the mass amounts of people wanting to just medicate their kids now, I definitely think can push them into being crazier because, it's all chemicals in your head. And at some point you have to think, okay, are we making kids do crazy things because we're over medicating? Whereas, in the 80s, no kids were medicated or very few. And most of the problems we had in the 80s never came up to the equation of, hey, you're getting shot, people are stabbing people. We never had all those problems, and I think that definitely medication has a part to play.
A lot of people say that. Dr. Brian Artis has been on this show. I remember him saying that one of the side effects that's listed in the paperwork for these antidepressants is the chance that it may increase violent ideation and activity. And that's a real nice antiseptic way to put it. But, oh, my goodness, so we're giving crazy people things that might make them crazier. And they know it.
They do know it. And what's sad is that you have most modern parents, especially modern parents that are working 9 to 5s and trying to support their households, double work and, not being able to spend enough time at home. Unfortunately, I think one of their first go-tos is, well, let's medicate them to calm them down and get them to leave us alone so we can relax after work. And unfortunately, I think you have a lot of family units that are breaking apart because of this, because of not putting, what you signed up to do as a parent, first. If you sign up to have kids, you should be taking care of your kids. And if you have to work, you have to work.
Well, also, if there's a lot of parents who do the right thing. They just have that 2% of kids that are born psychopaths, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how great of parents are. These people you just have to wait for them to kill somebody before you lock them up, too. So,
unfortunately, that is the case.
Well, it sounds like you put a little thought into this. I think one of the more intriguing solutions for this would bring back all those mental hospitals like from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I
do remember those.
Right. And they were a lot more prevalent a couple generations ago. And I think maybe getting rid of those to the extent we did, I think we're not creating more crazy people. Maybe we're just letting them run free a little too much. That's my second theory. Thank you very much, Adam in Fort Worth. Whew. Touchy subject there. All right, let's get back to things that affect your wallet. Scott Bairdale's my next guest with Idea Grove, and we've been having a lot of changes economically speaking, whether it's the markets or the tariffs or whatnot. Scott, how do you see this affecting the average consumer out there? Everyone has an excuse to either be optimistic and go spend or be pessimistic and hold on to their money. What are you seeing more out there, Scott?
Well, I think there's certainly some uncertainty and trepidation, but, I think the reality is that, most people are just proceeding along. It's like the markets have been up and down, but, the economy seems to be doing pretty well. There haven't been real impacts of tariffs as of yet because of how they've been implemented or not implemented. It's mainly been fears of what might happen as a result of tariffs. And so when the impact of tariffs actually start happening, then I think you might see some real changes in consumer behavior. It's just a little too early to tell what that's going to be.
Well, it seems like the industries most impacted by the tariffs are these big ticket items, buying a car, building a house, opening a new franchise, the big moves. And those are the ones that kind of precede the trickle down effect. I hate using that term, but, economically speaking, there's a discussion to be had there. And how are our big ticket items holding up, houses and cars and whatnot?
Well, big ticket items, I think what you're seeing is that a lot of these prices have not really been affected yet. I was talking today to a manufacturer whose inventory is out of China, and they've got months and months worth of inventory that has already been brought into the U.S. So even if tariffs are affecting their prices, it won't affect them for months. And I think you're seeing kind of this very kind of uncertain, kind of staggered effect of these things. And I think that's just one example. I'll give you another example. It's just everything is so interconnected. I know that people, you might have seen the news that Temu, for example, and and Chinese-based online retailers have announced price increases tied to the tariffs. But it's also true that, and what maybe most people don't realize, is about 70% of what Amazon sells comes from China. So it's not like Amazon, as a quote-unquote American company, is not going to be affected by this as well.
Right. I think a lot of the stuff that I get from Amazon actually has like the Chinese writing on there. And that's when I know it's the legit stuff. It's like, wow, they really wanted me to get this. They sent it from the other side of the planet. All right, Scott Bairdell, Idea Grove. How do they find your work outside of WBAP?
Well, you can just go to ideagrove.com, and if you need any marketing or PR help, we're there.
Thank you, Scott. Scott Bairdell from Idea Grove. Coming up next, I'm going to get you caught up on what's going on in one of the worst Texas legislative sessions that may have happened in your entire life. It's still going on. They keep making terrible decision after terrible decision. And the bad news on what they're doing with your tax dollars is next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. This has got to be one of the most disappointing legislative sessions in Texas history. And not that they've gotten so little done, or they've grown the budget, or they've grown government, it's that you've sent a clear majority with the intent of doing almost everything the opposite. And all it's taken is 36 Republicans to break with their ideological counterparts and start voting with the Democrats, and know all this stuff that you did not intend, that the voters did not want. I don't know if you're team red or team blue, but overall, generally speaking, Texans didn't want the government that they're getting right here. The good news about the Texas legislative session is it's only every 2 years. So, man, wouldn't that be great if in D.C., Congress only met every 2 years, they had one session that's supposed to be 5 months every 2 years? Now, I know we may get a bunch of special sessions and whatnot out of that. And I know you've actually been hearing some great headlines. Hey, we've got school choice passed. No, that school choice bill is minimal. It's better than what we have, sure, but it's going to apply to so few students. It's not really going to change the regime. It's not going to change your schooling system much. And it's only going to help out, maybe 100,000 kids at the most. So universal school choice is what we want. We're going to get about 2%. 2% of the students will be eligible for vouchers. So, okay, that's like a 98% loss right there. Terrible. Another headline that I think I wish was a bigger deal. Brian Harrison, he's a state rep out of the Midlothian area, regular on the James Show. I hate it when he comes on because he always tells me what a poor job that they're doing down in Austin. This is him about an hour before the James Show started today. He was speaking on the floor of the Texas Capitol and lamenting the creation of the National Institute of Health. But it's not a National Institute of Health. It's a Texas version of the National Institute of Health. We are creating giant new bureaucracies in Austin. Is that what you voted for?
I would love to find a cure for dementia. I think every member of this body would love to find a cure for dementia. Every Texan would love to find a cure for dementia. But I do not know what part of stop growing government and give people back their money this body clearly does not understand. We are going to stand up and create an entire new government agency today. How many is that just this week? I have literally lost track of how many new government programs and agencies this body has created just this week alone. As President Trump is cutting and shrinking the Federal National Institute for Health, it appears that the Texas House wants to stand up a Texas version of the NIH. We're going to stand up a Texas NIH just as Trump is cutting the federal NIH. This is the exact opposite of the Trump agenda, and I want to be very clear about that.
They're doing a terrible job down there. There's $30-something billion that they have sitting in the rainy day fund that they could return to you immediately with property tax relief. But what are they doing? Oh, we're creating a Institute of Health. What are you doing that for? Well, so we can cure dementia. Yeah. That's the ticket. You don't want to cure dementia? Stop it, people. It's embarrassing. Sarah Gonzalez from Texas Scorecard and The Blaze did a video. Hey, we need to have her on either Thursday or Friday for this, Garrett. I think we are trying to get her on. She's spelling out what a lot of us didn't want to hear about property taxes, but we got to tell you the cold truth here.
The fact that I still have to talk about property taxes in the state of Texas in 2025 is so pathetic and embarrassing. It is so embarrassing to me. Here's how it's been working for far too long. You buy a home here in the state, you then pay for that home, usually through a mortgage. Okay, so maybe it takes you 20 years, 30 years, but you make an honest living, you work hard, and you pay for your home in full. And then even after you've already paid for your home in full, you owe $0 on that home. And all of the years working up to that point, and afterwards, you will still get a bill from the government every single year in Texas charging you for that land that you own. You don't really own your home. If you have to pay a renter's fee to the government to stay on your land that you already paid for, you never truly own your home. You have to continue paying the government for your home. Nobody owns private property, actually, right? You don't own private property. You don't own your home. Sounds a little communist-y to me.
Yeah, I think we're ready to have this conversation. How about we just get rid of this altogether? You don't own your land. You rent your land. But did they do anything about that when they had the chance, when they had the $30-something billion cushion to make this happen? No. No, they didn't. They just created new bureaucracies to waste your money on instead of giving it back to you. Oh, we have extra money? Well, let's not give it back to the people we took it from by force. Let's find something new to waste it on. That's what's been happening in Austin this session. Huge, embarrassing failure. What can we do about it? Not a whole lot on the individual level, but if a whole lot of us, thousands of people listen to the show, over 100,000 people listen to this show, by the way. Right? Here's what we've done. Brian Harris and I created the Rhino list. If you want it, send me a message, Facebook or YouTube comment, james@wbap.com if you want to send me an email. I'll send you a link to the list. It lists out everybody's rep. There's a map so you can see if you're in one of the districts. And if this is one of the rhinos on our list, then it's incumbent on you, constituents, voters, citizens of Texas, to make sure they get primaried out next year. That's all I can do for you. If I could do more, I would. But if you want the rhino list, just reach out to me and I'll send you the link. Next, student loan repayments are about to start for thousands of people involuntarily. If we start garnishing paychecks of thousands of people out there, is this going to crush them? Is this going to crush the economy? I think we'll be okay. People who rent probably don't understand why we talk about the property tax issue so much. But when I do, I got to hear from people who live in just a modestly successful home who tell me how much they pay in property taxes. There are people out there who listening to the show right now who this year will pay more than $100,000 in property taxes. And yes, they have a nice house. I get it. But $100,000 in property taxes? Good Lord. Can we get a hold on that, please? But the next thing that's coming up, financially speaking, that may have an impact on the economy is student loan repayments may resume. And now they've resumed on a voluntary basis, but now on an involuntary basis, we're going to have thousands of Americans find out that their paychecks being garnished again. And I guess this hasn't happened. This has been going on since what? COVID still? So my next guest to spell it out for us, Paul Oster. Welcome back to the James Show. You may know him as America's credit repairman, but Paul, what's about to happen with these student loan borrowers?
Listen, it's not good. The numbers just came out the other day from the Department of Education, and this is what it looks like. Right now, you have over 42 million borrowers that owe more than $1.6 trillion in debt. Now, out of that, you have 5 million borrowers who are already at least a year behind. Some of them are as many as 7 years behind. You have 4 million borrowers that are in late stage delinquency, which means they're at least 91 days away from defaulting. Add those numbers together, and you're at about 10 million borrowers that are going to default on their student loans within a couple of months. That's 25% of the federal student loan portfolio. That's not a good thing for anyone. And look, we all know we shouldn't be in this situation to begin with. The cost of education, tuition has spiraled out of control. But the reality is these borrowers have to realize that the gravy train, call it whatever you want, the grace period, it's over. and they're going to be sent to collections, and then that's going to just cost them that much more money because their credit is going to take a tremendous negative impact.
Well, there's also the terrible part of all this is student loan debt is kind of hard to get rid of. You can't just shake it off in bankruptcy court like you can other forms of debt. In fact, if you do end up being in a colony on the moon or Elon Musk's Mars colony, that student loan debt will probably follow you there too.
You're absolutely right. So if it's federally backed and guaranteed, then 100% you're correct. But here's the good news. The Department of Education, the studentaid.gov, they're trying to streamline the process. They're trying to make it easy. The debt's not going to be forgiven, at least not this point in time. And this has been a political football, a roller coaster ride for sure. But borrowers have to go to studentaid.gov, and they have to enroll in what's called an income-driven repayment plan. Some of those repayment plans could be $0 a month if you don't have an income. So the fact that borrowers are refusing to do that and they're just kind of digging their heels in and hoping for the best, that's the scariest thing to me. Because be proactive here. Believe me, the current administration is going to send you to collections, and when they do that, they have the right to freeze and seize your bank accounts. They're not going to take your property. There's no debtor prison, but what they will do is try and collect their money. And they will get a court order. They will file a civil judgment against you. They will freeze and seize your bank accounts. They will also garnish your wages. And in that process, you are literally destroying your credit, which is going to cost or save you money for every other financial transaction in your life. So they have to really take this seriously. I know there's been a lot of confusion. It's been kicked back and forth 1,000 times, but this is happening in real time. So they have to be proactive. There's only one place to go. You know what happens now during this time? The predators come out. The bad actors come out. They're going to prey on these student loan borrowers. The only place you go for information is studentaid.gov or the U.S. Department of Education. Studentaid.gov is the place where you can go now, and they've streamlined the process. If you've tried it before, they actually shut it down for a long time because the administrations were battling back and forth. So the Department of Education said, you know what, we're shutting it down for a little while. It's open. They've streamlined the process. You don't have to recertify anymore. That was a big problem. You had to recertify every year. So just go there and apply and see what happens. It's going to be based on your current income.
Well, thank you very much. Paul Oster, spelled out the problem, also gave us the answer. So I appreciate your knowledge on the James Show.
Hey, thanks for having me back on.
All right, it's Paul Oster. Maybe you've seen him on Fox Business or something like that. But get some help with that. Don't crush your credit for no reason.